Alright guys, welcome back to Offbeat POV Conversations with me, Chin, and my co-host, Nick. And if this is your first time here, we delve into things that are happening in the world, news articles, things that we found interesting, and we use those as springboards towards conversations that we think Christians should be having today, or Christians or conversations that we as Christians ought to be aware of. So we're going to dive straight into today. We're going to drive. No. I'm glad you found that amusing. Okay. Yeah, compose
it's
yourself.
It's the fact that you tried to retrieve it. Like, no, I'm not starting again. I'm gonna get this, and then we drive. No.
Okay, we're going to dive straight into it today. We've got two that interesting. It's been a long day. Okay, it's been a very long day. Okay, all right. Let's start again from the beginning.
Okay.
Let's start again from the beginning. So, my name is Chin. Here's Nick. This is Offbeat POV Conversation.
Are you being serious?
This is Offbeat POV Conversations. We're going to talk about some of the things that we found interesting this week, and we're going to use those as springboards towards conversations that we think are important and that we think we as Christians these days should be having. So today, there's two conversations that I want to start with that I found very, very interesting. So the first one is about the AI singer that topped the music charts. All right. So I sent you this article. I'm sure you've had a you've had a read of it.
Was it the music charts in general or the gospel music charts?
The Christian music chart, but you know it's a chart, so it's still an achievement.
Absolutely,
if you want to put it like that. So his name is Solomon Ray.
Yep.
He's sort of based off someone who lives in Mississippi and does like this soulful Mississippi type of style of music. There is a real Solomon Ray in Mississippi.
I was about to say that. Isn't that the real name for the Solomon Ray? And then there's an AI version.
Well, no, because I don't know if this Solomon. I don't know if the real one is a singer. I think there's just a person who is Solomon Ray. Who maybe the image of the person is based off. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The point is this AI gospel singer has topped the music chart. So before we delve into it, maybe we should have a listen.
All right, let's go ahead.
A little bit of Mr. Solomon Ray to see just what people are falling in love with. Okay. So this is a snippet of one of his most popular songs called "Find Your Rest." It seemed to be the song that a lot of people were going to. I've just gone to a different song. Let me go back to "Find Your Rest." So we'll just have a listen of this a little bit.
From all this stress,
oh no, we do need the interest.
Come
on, man, play it properly.
Okay, fine. Blimey.
Lord, I'm tired from all this stressing. Too weak to count my blessings. Ain't got time for window dressing. Just trying to keep my soul intact. I've been running hard, feet on fire. Dreams and duty tangled in wire. But when my strength starts slipping away, I still hear your voice say, don't grow weary in well-doing. Get those problems off your chest. Cast your cares on my shoulders, and I'll give you rest. I'll give you rest. These bills don't pay themselves.
How do?
Yeah.
How do?
Yeah.
You're feeling that?
Yeah. Hey. There's a spirit in you.
Well, I mean, let's start from there though. What? Yeah, you heard a bit of his song. What? Yeah. What were your thoughts?
I think I'm the worst person to ask this to, because I'm going to have to answer it in two folds, right? The first one is to take it for what it is and the way I approach music. Yeah. I was enjoying that because for me, the way I approach music is what I'm listening to. That's the first thought.
As opposed to?
As opposed to there's the next thought now looking at, especially with Christian music, looking at the artists and then looking at everything else behind that. You know, if I take it for what it is, you've played this in the car, we're going somewhere and you've just played this song. I don't know if it's a real person or not. So I'm going based on what I'm hearing. So
the point that you've made that you don't know if it's a real person or not. I mean, I guess if I just played it on the radio or in the car, that wouldn't even cross your mind. Because for you,
no,
you would assume it's someone singing this song.
Absolutely. And just like I don't care whether that person is a fornicator or a woman beater or whatever, just like I don't really care about that person, in that moment, it's about what I'm hearing and what it's doing to me inwardly. Because remember, we are interpreting this thing in the spiritual realm, right? Because I say in the spiritual realm, but what I mean is that you are hearing this thing and the message is reaching you somehow. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah,
and then that's doing something to you. So does that matter whether it's a real person singing or not, or is what's important about literally this experience I've just had, right? I did listen to a few of the songs as well, but I don't think I listened to this, or I think I did listen to it. But again, listening to it just now.
Hang on. So what's your answer? Because I think that question you've just asked, that's the central question.
Which one?
Does it matter whether it's a real person or not? I think that's the central question here.
To be honest with you,
what's your answer to that question?
That's exactly what I've been struggling with. And that's why I'm saying that I would answer it in two folds.
Okay.
Right? So the first fold, the answer would be no, it doesn't matter because it's about the end result, right? Of what I'm hearing. Does that make sense? And then what is transpiring as I hear that. Why do we resonate with some songs more than others, right? I might have gone through a certain situation. Now that song talking about, for example, the beginning, that gives me sort of like old sort of like black music vibes there. You see what I mean? And I've always had a soft spot for that. You see what I mean? So already playing that, my ears and everything in me say, oh, I like this melody. You see what I mean? I like that. Now the lyrics hit in, and now I'm meditating on the lyrics as well, and suddenly I'm transported. Does that make sense? So that's the first fold. That's just by experiencing the end result. Does that make sense? Is that fair to say that?
Well, it's fair to say that for you, you're saying it doesn't matter whether it's true or not, because what matters is the experience of the listener. In essence, that's what you're saying.
Absolutely, yes. The second phase, which might complicate matters, right?
Okay.
Now, when I think about it deeply, to be honest with you, I've been in two minds about this. Yeah, I've been, yes, it matters. No, it doesn't matter. Yes, it matters. No, it doesn't matter. The reason why I've started with the way I've started is because we've just listened to it now, and I'm going based on how it's made me feel right now. The second phase is this. I think as Christians, we underestimate. No, that won't be fair. Most Christians don't. But we definitely did underestimate the spiritual realm growing up because of how and where we grew up. But there is a spiritual realm. It is real and it is active even today. So the reason why the Bible says that those that worship him in spirit and in truth, there's an actual reality for when you do enter the presence of God with that mentality, with that vibe, or when you gather together to say that we are going to have a holy convocation, for example, you know, or, you know, when you get together with your wife or your congregation, say we are going to fast, you know, in human language, it moves the heavens. Does that make sense? It moves God, right? So just like I would open a scripture to read, right? And then it's like the understanding, the belief, the strong belief by faith is that the Spirit of God is there, you know, to help interpret, understanding, teaching. The same also, one can argue, is for music. You know, it's not just about enjoying the melody or whatever. It's like the reason when I believe they think they sang when Solomon was dedicating the temple. Music has been, you know, David danced when the Ark of Covenant was coming back to Israel. Music has been a side by side really in the history of the believers of God, and it's a tool that is used to also sort of like praise, worship. Now I'll add these words in brackets, enter into a certain zone that you are able to commune with God, if I can say that. Right now, in a long-winded way, what I'm trying to say is that so therefore I would say that starts even with the singer. So imagine a church setting. praise and worship team, whatever, they start. I want to believe there's a spirit that will be lingering around. The vision I have is when the spirit was hovering again on the surface of the earth. But when you have all that together, there's a real sort of like amazing sort of like spiritual reality that is taking place. Now, with this type of music by AI, I would argue that it's dead. There's no spirit of intent there because it's a machine.
Using your own argument against you, would that matter? Because what you're talking about is the spirit of the people listening to the music. So, for example, if I was in a church and they played this song, could one not argue, fine, the song is by an AI, but the song is being played through the speakers. Everyone from the praise team to the pastor to the congregation, they're all in the spirit. Therefore, they're being spiritually fed or it's spiritually enriching.
Yeah, to my first phase answer, yes, that's exactly it. But I'm trying to think a bit deeper.
So based on your second phase answer, why is what I've just said not correct? Or
because that almost like sort of like it's really hard to bring into sort of like to articulate it, but I'm seeing almost, let me compare it almost like an AI preacher, for example. Would you sit there and say that, well, it might be an AI preaching, but it's not about who is talking, it's about what I'm hearing, you know, although I personally believe that's different, but it's almost like that. It's the fact is that you cannot ignore that there's no human behind that song. So that spirit, the spirit of God did not originate from them, if that makes sense. So whether it's good or bad, but we would have to acknowledge that that atmosphere we're talking about is not starting with the singers, basically, because they are not alive, they are not there.
And what's wrong with that?
At the moment, I don't know. At the moment, I don't know, but it's worth to take note because that's exactly what is happening. So at the moment, I don't know what's wrong with that.
No,
because it's not like it's gonna be misleading you. You know, I'm not seeing any evil intent. I'm not seeing any.
I think
satanic influence. You see what I mean? Personally, I'm not seeing that.
I'm seeing all of that.
But I'm gonna hear your thoughts now. Yeah. But I'm the reason I'm saying that is because I've sat down and I've opened an app or a program and I've typed in the keys, whatever, and instructed it to create a song based on A, B, C, D, E, F, G, based on this kind of melody, and it's done that, and I've liked it, and I'm listening to it. I would want to know, where are we inserting satanic influences there?
Okay, so
unless if I'm understanding it incorrect,
I'm gonna. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say satanic. I guess ultimately it's gonna land there, but that's not the opening point I would make. So I'm going to answer that, but that's interesting because that also leads to one of my other questions about an argument for this or what's a devil's advocate type of argument. But firstly, to answer your question is, now, what you're trying to articulate there is that music is spiritual, right? And I think we had this discussion not so long ago where I was saying, I think I've realized just how spiritual music is.
Absolutely. People, not to cut you, but remember, it's also used in rituals and chanting.
Exactly,
and things like
exactly.
That. Why do
and
they
there's a reason. There's a reason why that is, because I mean, you were hesitant to say you enter in a zone, but that's exactly what music does. Music does. It allows us, for lack of a better word, to enter the spiritual realm.
Absolutely.
Or it's like a gateway into the spiritual realm.
To enter.
It's a tool into it. And because God created music, so it's not something that man made up or whatever. It's something that God created. There are 7 notes that no one can tell you the origin of them. It is literally a God-given thing. And there's a reason why he did that. And people underplay it, but also there's a reason why it's only when David played the music when Saul's spirit left.
As well. That's
you could think, oh, that's an interesting detail, but no, there is something there. So the point is, if music is spiritual, can you have a spiritual experience with something that's not human?
Okay, interesting.
because we know that we experience the spiritual. Obviously, you can do it through back doors, through mediums or whatever, psychedelics and everything else, or you can do it. We as Christians believe the right way to do it is through the Spirit of God. But the fact is, if we want to have a spiritual experience, should that not be done with humans? Because that's what God has given us. So if someone is singing, I am enriched, I'm blessed both by the words of what the person is saying, but also everyone knows music goes beyond words. That's why you can just hear
the
something.
emotion of the person, the passion that they might have.
It's everything. So for me, I would say as nice as any AI thing that we can create is, as nice or as moving as it is, I think it removes the key ingredient, which is the spirit of man. We know our spirit of man was given by God. And so you can say it's our piece of God, the peace of God in us, or however you're gonna phrase it.
Romans says our spirit communes with the spirit of God.
However you're gonna phrase it, but the fact is, the spirit of man that dwells in us is the thing that allows us to have a spiritual experience.
Absolutely.
And anything that comes from something that's machine hasn't got that. It's like a soul. You can say he hasn't got a soul. So that's the stance I've reached on. However, I was thinking, could someone not say, so you articulated this nicely, to say someone has taken the time to, open an app, load things, whatever. Someone has thought about what they want this song to sound like, how they, they've thought about all these things and they've put into an app to create this. Can they not argue that it's like a piece of art? So for example, in the same way someone can sit there and draw something and then you put that picture up on display and people look at that art and have an experience with that art, a subjective experience with that art. So you look at the painting of, whatever it is, whether it's abstract or not, but then in you looking at that art, you have your own subjective experience with that art. Could someone not argue this is the same thing?
That's an interesting question. And yes, of course, a lot of people would argue that it's the same thing.
I guess the question is it a valid argument?
But then,
that's the question.
And yes, I would say it's a valid argument, because literally just behind you, you have an acoustic guitar hanging up and you have an electric guitar hanging up. And I do know, especially in the faith that we grew up in, certain instruments for a very long time were looked down upon, like almost like devil's instruments. I'm talking about electric guitars,
just bass, mainly drums, really.
Drums, the bass as well, bass, drums. Now they are a lot more sort of like accepted in some branches. So yeah, I think it's a valid argument, and it's an argument that after this, because remember I was saying that I don't really know what's wrong with it. It was there, but I couldn't really get it out. And with what you've said, I would happily jump on that. The issue is, I always go back to this, right? People think the deception that the evil one is out there to do is going to be obvious deception.
That's
right.
That's one of the things as well.
Clear cut deception where it's like, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's against God. But it's not. It's really, really not. And this is where Matthew comes in. Matthew is very important. It's a very important passage, because it says that he would deceive even the elect if it were possible. That goes to show you just how trickily everything he's doing is. Cunning he is, right? So I would argue that it's a valid argument, but yes, it's not okay, because again of what you started your point on. Let's go back to use David as an example. I want to believe it had to be a specific instrument that David was playing in order for the evil spirit to depart. So, right?
I don't know. Why do you want to believe that?
Because like you said, there's a reason why God did that. He would not have done that purposely, but then just chosen a random instrument. But that's not what I want to dwell on. That's not the point. That's not the point. The point is that even in Revelation, we see sort of like, there's a reason why I heard 7 trumpets, sounding, for example.
Why?
The point, I don't know. But the point is, there is real importance, I want to believe, and I want to add, and this is what you can argue against, in sort of like raw music that we've known for generations and generations versus what has taken over the world in the past sort of like 5 to 10 years, which is more sort of like electronic, creating sort of like beats and so on and so forth, that is not real. Does that make sense? That is not raw. So because if we don't acknowledge that, I'm seeing AI just to be another advancement to that, you know.
No, so I mean, I think anyone who loves music and has really, for lack of a better word, really has spiritual experiences with music, I think people will accept that real instruments hit harder than electronic produced sounds. Yeah. Now, whether it is because of the rawness, the realness, and there's a lot of things that can go into it. But do I then think that anything electronic is part of a deception? I don't think so. I think it could be argued it's a less effective tool, but I wouldn't say it's
so I wasn't saying that everything that's not but real, but what I'm trying to say is that
your point is you
see how the lines blur, right? You see how it works. So you go from a normal instruments basically to a little bit of, like, let's say electric things and whatnot, and then if you just do this on the guitar, I mean on the laptop or whatever, you look at the sounds you can create because all the instruments are there, and then you go there and then you have our, I don't know if I can put our pianos there where it's all electronic and things like that, and then you arrive where we are. So it's like it starts off,
I don't think so.
It starts off steady like that. So it's like, no, by the time you are getting to the actual change, one like me can argue, what's the difference between what I'm instructing AI to do and all my instruments already being there and me just, sort of like sitting there and just creating the sound that I want to hear?
The difference is in the first version, it is still you expressing your creativity. It is still you going through the process of first picking them. You're still creating music. Now, one could argue it's a shortcut music. The realist, purist who say anything done on the computer is no real music. Fine, that's a different argument. But one could argue it's a shortcut or whatnot. But you're still expressing your creativity. It still takes skill. It still takes you to actually spend time in doing something in order to have an outcome. There is still, I would argue, there's still a spiritual element in that, because you're giving your time, your effort, your mental energy, you're giving your spirit towards this thing that you're building for an output. That's different to me sitting down and typing a few prompts in 5 minutes and the whole song comes out.
So I don't really know how long it takes to do these prompts or what the process is. So I'm gonna create a hypothetical here and see what you can do it in
like 10 seconds. You can just say, write a song about the sky in the style of Bob Marley. It's going to do it.
Gotcha. So what if, okay, fine, fair enough. So what if I had something in my head, a sound in my head, a song in my head? Can't really put a finger on it, but I've got something. So I sit there and I put these prompts. I listen to the end result, don't like it, scratch it. Tweak these prompts again, add this, add that. I listen to the final version. No, that's not quite it. That's not what I'm quite visioned. It's not it. Okay, what should I do? All right, fine. Do the prompt again. I'll add this, add this, retweaking the prompts. And then eventually it gives me a song that I'm like, this is what I was hearing. Wouldn't you argue it's the same thing as the other person you are saying that is?
So you pretty much put my question back to me to say that can one not argue that that's art? And yes, they can, but I would disagree, because my question to you is, you have that thing in your head, create it. Like, go through the steps of creating it. Why are you bypassing the process of creating?
Because we now have tools that are able to get us our end result
that are robbing us of our spiritual experience, that are robbing us of our soul. Because every musician will tell you it is the process of creating where this, for lack of a better word, that's where the spiritual process is. So that idea you have in your head, great. Create it, because it is that process that's spiritually enriching, enhancing. It is that process that by the time you're done and people listen to it, they're hearing just more than the music. They're hearing the process that you went through, the thoughts you went through, the effort, the energy, the spirit you put into this. That's what music gives people. And we've really wandered into like philosophical land.
Absolutely.
But I really believe that's what music is. Music is not just
the experience that you went through to write that song.
100%, which is why, like, someone can sing a song. We've had it where someone will sing a song and you'd be like, oh, that's a nice song, I like that. Someone else will sing the same song and your heart is breaking and you're crying. Why? Because even though the song is the same, the words are the same, the melody is the same, but the place from which they're singing that song is completely different. One is putting the whole life experience in it and everything else. One is just, oh, I have to sing a song to record, therefore I'm just gonna sing it. And you can hear these things. And so again, maybe one could argue, that all sounds great, but that's all very woo, mushy, whatever. But I do think that's the power of music. And I think if we start accepting things like AI music as the norm, or start saying, oh no, it even sounds better than the original. There's a thing now where a lot of people are remaking like 50 Cent songs, Eminem songs, whatever songs in the style of like old stuff. And people are like, oh, this is better than the original. It's better. And I'm like, fine. Hearing wise, you could say it sounds more pleasing than the original, but you have to understand this is something that was done in 5 minutes. That original may have taken 5 years to write. You know?
And thus it's removing us from where we are meant to be.
And
It's closing that gate into the spiritual
this goes
realm.
back to what you're saying about how deception isn't going to come outwardly like a beast. I'm here to deceive. It could simply just rob them of the spirit.
Yes, absolutely.
Just
leave them with the music. Leave them with that.
Leave them with the end result.
Gate.
Just end them of the spirit, because now they don't understand the power of music anymore. They don't understand the experience of music anymore. They don't understand what goes. It's just, oh yeah, this sounds nice. Yeah. And we're left with empty.
Lip service version of
lip service
music.
But listen, that's what I think. Like you said, like I said, you could think I'm maybe overthinking it, but I do think this opens the door to very dangerous territory. And a lot of people will be saying, oh, I heard this song, it really helped me, it was really uplifting. Listen to a song by a real person that's uplifting, because you can't tell me that they're not there. They're there. It's just, let's stop looking for ways to disconnect from our fellow human beings. Because I think we have enough ways to disconnect. How about we go back to reconnecting as human beings on a human level, for us Christians on a spiritual level? Maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? You let us know. All right, Swifty, I want to move on.
Yep.
From AI music to marriages.
Okay.
Marriages. Okay, so this is a story that J.D. Vance got in trouble because
This story.
It seemed as if he was doing a presidential call for his wife to convert to Christianity. Now, as I understand it, he's a Christian and his wife is Hindu.
Yeah.
He
grew up in a Hindu household. Yes.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, because I think they say she's non-practicing. But he's Christian. His wife is Hindu, and he was expressing that he wishes or hopes for the day that she converts to Christianity. And this got him in trouble because they were saying, well, that's not being respectful of other religions. That's not being respectful of her. You should respect her inner choice, etc., etc., etc. Which I think is a silly argument. Absolutely. I think as a husband, you can hope someone in the same way she can hope that he converts to Hinduism, whatever. But that got me thinking. It's 2025. In most countries, it's multicultural, multi-faith. There's about inclusion, intermingling, hang out with other people, go see the world, get to know other people, etc., etc., etc. As Christians, as interfaith dating and marriages increases, what's your stance and take on interfaith dating and marriages in particular?
So I think for me, the issue is we don't have the same understanding. Let's leave dating aside. Yeah, I think you can.
But why? I mean, isn't it one and the same thing?
No, not really. And if we add dating, this conversation will go from 1 hour to 6 hours. I think let me tackle marriages for now, because that's concrete, right?
Okay, I will let you, but how can you have dating without marriage?
Okay, so simply put, I'll try to put it very quickly.
Okay, yeah.
Dating wise, you're getting to know somebody. Yeah, it's your talking phase and whatnot. Likes, dislikes, does this work for me, does that not work for you, blah 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 blah, family, understandably, during that phase you can say, this we're not compatible, thank you, sorry I wasted your time, let's go our separate ways. So if you met somebody in a neutral place and you really like them and you know to get to know them, and you know you had different faiths and things like that, I'm seeing that there's still room for getting to know each other there. Yeah. And then that can be part of your discussion of what's going to happen or where you see yourselves in that relationship spiritually. Does that make sense?
It does, but maybe it's going to make more sense in the context of what you have to say about marriage. So, okay, move on to marriage.
So that's why you should have listened to me.
No.
I did say let me go to marriage.
No, it was interesting. It slid some nuggets of consideration.
All right. So in terms of marriage, however, I think now you made you slip my point. In terms of marriage, the problem is, right? The issue is, as a society, as a people, we do not have the same understanding or the same belief of what a marriage is supposed to look like, right? That's the biggest issue. Because right now, if I'm going to answer this question, I'll be answering based on, let's say, what I believe to be the ideal marriage and family and what it should look like.
Okay.
The society does not have that image. So therefore, the society would say, for example, therefore the society would say, yes, I mean, you already said it in your opening speech. There was, regarding J.D. Vance, they were saying, respect her choice, and I've known marriages where they'll proudly say, yeah, I go to my church on Sunday, he goes to his church on the Friday, whatever, and we come back home. The children, we will let them choose. Yeah. So that's the world we're living in. We're living in a world where options are for all. This whole respect, free will, don't impose, don't force, that kind of thing. So in that world, 100% you can do whatever
you make
you
it sound as if so you're saying there's something wrong with don't impose, don't force, respect
in the way that I'm going to phrase it. Absolutely. So let me go to an ideal marriage then. Right? You're talking about union. Therefore the two shall therefore the man shall leave his home and shall cling to his wife, and the two shall become one. Right? Now, without going into too much details, that gives me a unity sort of like language there. We are one in all that we do. Right? So specifically for men, it also goes on to talk about how we are the head of the household. And one thing that is highlighted in that as well for believers is the fact that you are the spiritual leader. Right? How is J.D. Vance going to be sitting there at dinner and, reading verses or teaching the gospel or, in making sure discipline as per Bible is enforced in his household when the wife is in and thinking, oh, no, we I don't know who Hindus believe, but, oh, no, it's about Buddha. You see what I mean? There's real discord there. So in that situation, if they were dating, right, or rather that marriage never should have existed. That marriage never should. And this is actually quite interesting because it's something live that I'm going through myself as well. Because although both me and my partner are in the Christendom, as you know, this whole clinging on to denomination thing is an issue for me. I believe gospel. And we've had to have a lot of sort of like conversations, even to the point, so you never come to my church then? I'm like, there'll be no churches. Because if there's going to be a church to attend, we need to be talking about that now because that's a big consideration for me. Does that make sense? That's what it needs to be like. So yes, in that sense, it does sound like I am imposing my situation on her, for example, or one person. If you are unfortunate enough to fall for somebody and you don't know their religion until maybe a few weeks down the line and you're like, oh, my heart is beating, and you're having that conversation, it would have to be one or the other.
So, instead of imposing or taking a hard line on it, why not just avoid it altogether and just don't get involved in the first place?
That's one approach, and I agree. That's one approach, and this is why I wanted to leave dating out of the way.
So,
this depends on how people approach dating.
So that's one approach. Okay, let me argue that that's the better approach, and that should be the only approach. So why you say no, that shouldn't be the only approach? What's the counter argument to that? The
counter argument to that is that God is not done saving people yet. God is not done calling his people yet. The gospel is still live. The gospel is still going on. Now, I could be, or you could be, all these people could be the tool that God has used to bring the gospel to that person, and there could be real conversion.
Okay, but then how is that going to happen? So for example, in the situation where I agree. You get to know someone, you're thinking, okay, maybe I like them, this is going to go well or whatever. Actually, I'm going to give a real example. This is a real example of a couple I know. I'm not going to say their relation to me or names. They wouldn't mind me telling the story, but just in case, you never know. But they really wouldn't mind. So they met. And this is interesting because my next line of question was going to be about interfaith marriages is one thing, but what about interdenominational marriages within the Christian?
Can you explain the difference?
Interfaith is Christian, Muslim, Christian, Hindu.
Interdenomination is gotcha. No, listen, we need to be on the same page with these definitions.
No, fair enough. So for them, when they met, there were two different denominations. So both Christians, two different denominations, and they were both pretty. Okay, the man was definitely more serious than the woman. One could argue, but they were both Christians doing what they were doing. And they started dating.
Look at my brain trying to scan. Like, do I know these people?
And they started dating. They were going through the things, whatever. And during that dating phase, the man didn't have to say anything to the woman. Obviously, you'd have discussions about your church and what you believe and whatnot. But the man never explicitly said you have to convert or you have to join me or whatever. But during the dating, the woman got curious about the man's faith denomination, started looking into it or whatever, started taking classes without the man knowing, and actually got baptized without the man knowing. Not without, but I think it was like, oh, I'm getting baptized next week, do you wanna come? And the man was like, wait, what, you're getting baptized tomorrow? And obviously now they're married, happily ever after, they're happy together.
That's a beautiful story.
It is. It's a very nice story, right?
Well, I'm not understanding why you're bringing that up. How is that supposed to help your argument?
No. My point is, the point you're making about could this not be the way God is using to reach someone, I would argue that's how it should happen. There's no imposing. There's no hard line saying it's either this or not. There's no whatever. It's a situation that God created that led one person to the other, and it happened.
Okay.
But then,
let me add one thing.
If it's a case where I'm saying, okay, no, I'm an SCA, I go to church on Saturday, that's that. She's saying, well, I'm Pentecostal, we go to church on Saturday, that's that. Then isn't that a matter of, okay, well, listen, it was great getting to know you. Goodbye.
Absolutely.
Because then,
absolutely.
So how long are you going to fight for before God is like, okay, now is the time
absolutely.
to.
So let me just add to the example you've given. So in that example, she got curious, she got moved, she started researching, she started attending classes, and she got baptized. Yeah. So because of him, and because you said he was quite serious than her in their religion approaches.
I mean, let's only because of I know the guy, I know the man.
Okay, fine.
But
we'll stick with that assumption.
We'll
stick with that assumption. No, it is here actually because it's the way, because as a man,
don't use that detail, because that detail is I would say it's maybe it's an assumption from how I know them to be. Now, don't get me wrong. Now they're both on fire. Now they're both whatever. But yeah. So don't use that detail as the main thing. If you want to use it, you can use it. But I'm just saying in that experience,
in the sense that okay, fine. So so we're just having fun with the experience now. So I wanted to imagine, because of that small detail, I wanted to imagine that the way he carried himself could have also been a way in which he preached to her.
Oh, definitely. That's definitely true.
So that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
So
the lady has definitely testified that.
Absolutely. You see, so in that way, that's one way of approach. He didn't have to sit, they didn't have to have Bible study, but eventually they were going to have to address it head on. But I want to believe that fortunately, because of the way he carried himself and everything like that, she got curious and so on. And it's a beautiful story, ended well. Another situation, it might have to be where you actually sit like this and actually have a conversation about God. Have Bible studies about God. Does that make sense? Have discussions about God. You know, why do you believe that? Why do I believe that? Here's the Bible. That might be another approach to have it.
Okay.
And then
fair enough.
From there, just like, I mean, I would imagine, I would be surprised as to why you wouldn't, when we would advocate for them talking about anything else, you know, like finance. And
No.
That's a core one as well.
I don't disagree with all of that, but like you said, you sitting down having a discussion, saying, okay, what do you believe about this? What do there's no coercion there. There's no hard line in there.
Absolutely.
That's a discussion. You're both open to discussing certain things to understand where you both stand. And for me, I would understand that's coming from your heart, where you either both saying, okay, what's the truth? What should we find out?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Are we both living? Am I coming there, or are you coming
So my
here?
argument is, in both those scenarios that we've described, I'm saying there is no coercion.
Fair enough.
There is no taking a hard stance and saying, no, I'm gonna have to force you to do things the way I do because our house is going to be of unity. Because I'm arguing, how can you force someone into unity?
Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. I'm okay with that. The reason why I agreed with that whole hard line thing is because now the reason why I say that marriage shouldn't exist is because during that dating phase, then you've had the discussions, you've had whatever, and you're both, because remember, we're talking about faith here, belief, and you both believe that where you are is the truth. At that point, if we talk about these core things that, for example, are non-compromises, whatever, this is who I am, so this is what's going to have to, this is what we're gelling together. So, which is what, for example, I've said to my partner as well, that, God is a big part of my life. That's a non-negotiable, and this is the vision that I see my household to be doing. If that doesn't sit well with you, or if we can't do that, then you need to tell me, because for me, that's it. Does that make sense? So it's a hard line in the sense that, and interestingly enough, for me, it was just not even that you have to. How do I explain this? Because it's a really interesting thing, especially when it's within sort of like Christendom, but interdenomination kind of thing, because you have to strip everything away and then look at, okay, what exactly do we believe? What do you believe? What do I believe? Because obviously denominations can lead you to places, but at the end of the day, are you dying for that denomination, or are you dying for the gospel, for Christ? You see what I mean? But then assuming that's been had, and let's say you're still not meeting eye to eye, there's no animosity or whatever, but let's take the Sabbath, for example. That could be a good one. We've had the discussions. I'm a Pentecostal, for example. You are a Seventh-day keeper. We've had that discussion, and you are still seeing that no, Sabbath to me is really, really important for my salvation. That means your vision in your family is us on a Saturday together at the church holding hands. I'm saying that no, we don't really need to do that at all. The other side of it. And in my mind, that day could be, I don't know, a friend's birthday, could be, a football game somewhere, could be a family gathering. I want us to go there. We can't duplicate ourselves and put us in the church and there at the same time. So the point is that that's where then it comes for some people to be like, well, this is where it's gonna have to end. So that's the hard stance when your faith, when you guys cannot mingle, commune.
What I was speaking against was saying that because you put down the society's narrative about being accepting, being tolerant, and being respectful of other people's beliefs and whatnot, and you're saying, well, I don't quite agree with that, and you're saying that in essence you're communicating that no, there's going to have to be a time where, in essence, I'm for lack of a better word, I'm gonna have to force my wife to adopt certain things that
will never happen, because that shouldn't happen.
That I think are the correct way of doing. But then that's what I was pushing back against, because I have no issue with respecting people's beliefs or respecting what someone wants to believe or respecting their religion.
My opinions, I will tell you that that's not the truth.
No. But that's what I'm saying, that I have no problem with that rhetoric, because I will respect you. I will respect your religion. If you want to be a Hindu, be a Hindu. I just don't have to marry you. You know what I mean?
And I don't have to believe that Hinduism is the truth.
No. But this wasn't a conversation about belief. This was talking about
the reason why I'm adding that aspect there is because I think sometimes respect sort of like can be viewed as affirming as well.
No, but I mean,
I'm not going to affirm that Hinduism is a right religion, but you can do whatever you want.
Society doesn't say we have to believe all these religions, because society is secular.
Absolutely. Society
doesn't believe anything, or rather, it doesn't believe any of the religions, I should say. So it says, yeah, you practice your religion, whatever. But so I don't think that's what they say. But I guess what I was saying is, I'm okay with the rhetoric of respecting people's religion, respecting their beliefs, respecting their way of life. But when it comes to dating and marriages, it doesn't mean that I have to tolerate that in my.
It's like what you said.
If my ideology, my belief is contrary to what you're saying or doesn't align, okay, cool, Sarah, You remain a Hindu. I'm a Christian. I'm gonna go find myself a Christian babe. It's as simple as that. So for me, I was saying that's why I was like, I don't see a reason why anyone should get to a point where they're trying to force someone into something or force someone into submission. It's just never going. It's just never going to work.
No, and unfortunately, the way Christianity works is that you don't force anybody. There is no you must be a Christian, because we talk about the conversion of the heart, which is an experience that a person will have with Christ. So they might do it outwardly to please you, which is what we've seen so many couples to do as well. I want to marry this man, but this man is hard on this, or I'm just gonna follow. There's no real conversion there. But let me ask you this. So fine, we've gotten married, and the Bible does address this. I think I just want to see what your take on it is. So let's say both of us were non-believers, or we were sort of like other faiths, two different faiths. I've now converted to Christianity, for example. How did I want to phrase this question?
What should the Christian do?
Okay. Where do we stand with preaching and wanting to the other partner to also convert to what you have now found is the truth?
Well, I mean,
because the reason why I'm asking that is because that's what, in my opinion, is what J.D. Vance was communicating. Now, I don't know how they got married.
Because he was always a Christian and she was always from a Hindu family.
I know. So his understanding is that this was okay. But it doesn't mean that there's no hope in his heart that one day the wife will also come to his faith. So I'm likening it to that situation where I found this new light. My husband or wife is still there, for example. I will have that desire for them to one day also see what I see.
100%.
It doesn't mean that you're
I have no issue with what J.D. Vance was saying, because J.D. Vance, if anything, it's the people commenting on it that
misunderstood,
that
maybe.
turned it sour.
Exactly.
Because all he was expressing was that hope.
I have the gospel. I respect my wife. I love my wife. She's a Hindu, but I pray and hope one day that she will also receive the gospel.
100%. And like you said, if it's a situation where you were both non-believers, or maybe you were both other different faiths, or maybe you're both Hindus and one becomes a Christian, you can have that hope. But the Bible also tells us that our preaching ought to be in our conduct and in the way we carry ourselves, because it says, who knows, maybe in so doing, we may save the other person. Exactly. So again, obviously, once you find and everything, you can have the conversation. If you're married, hopefully you have a good line of communication, so you can have your conversation. Oh, you know what, you should come to church. I found this thing, I think it's the right thing, blah, blah, blah. But then if you meet resistance, or if you meet the person saying, no, I think I'm comfortable in what I'm doing, fine. The Bible tells us by your conduct, preach to them. And that's how you have to carry on. You obviously stay married because you've made a covenant for life, and there's no way of getting out of that. So you stay married, and by your conduct, hopefully you win them over.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that. But then that's why, for me, I think, going back to what you're saying about society and marriage, because I do think marriage has been downplayed in recent centuries.
They say that you can create your own marriage now. Your marriage looks the way you want it to look.
What do you mean? Like in terms of, is that like in terms of open marriage, or we'll see each other only on the weekend, or whatever?
There's no such a thing as this is what a marriage is supposed to look like. Well, there's your own marriage.
I mean,
your truth.
It depends on what you say with this, what a marriage is, because a marriage has always been very unique to the individuals anyway. But if it's anything beyond the core principle is two people become one, and they navigate the world together as one, however that looks. But yeah, if you say no, it's open marriage, or then all that, then it's not a marriage. But for me, that's why I think the simplest thing, especially when it comes to interfaith things, is just don't get involved. Like you said, it's fine, having initial conversations, because like you say, you never know. Someone could be a Muslim, but through meeting a man who they like, being a Christian, maybe they get curious about it and whatever. But definitely when it comes to serious dating and definitely marriage,
so what about
save yourself the headache and save your headache and stop. Interdenomination, I have a little bit more grace on, but I think I like the way you put it, to say the foundations have to be solid. The foundations have to be the same. Because for me, you're saying, oh no, I'll never go to your church. I have no problem with that, because for me, me going to an evangelical church or Pentecostal church or Church of Holy Ghost Fire or whatever, you know, you know, for me, going to that church in itself, for me, it's neither here nor there, right?
For me,
now the thing is
the attending. Why? So for me, I'm like you, like I can go anywhere, but in this situation, I'll be trying to make sure that we are on the same wavelength in the understanding of this denomination.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why my first stance would be no, I will never go there, because I would need you to understand what I understand as well and grad that. So if assuming you're on the same page, 100%. Oh, there's a concert happening somewhere. So, oh, yeah, let's go. What's going on?
I mean, it's different if I go there and I experience something that I feel is troubling to my spirit.
Packing my bus and
then
away.
that's different. Then you say, no, I'm sorry, we can never go to that church again. but definitely the foundation has to be the same, and definitely that foundation 100% has to start with what is the gospel for you, or what is salvation for you, and then from there you can build up, because because okay, we're gonna that takes us to a different conversation, and I'm trying my best not to stare off course today, but yes, that's my answer. Interdenomination I have a bit more grace for, but I think they could potentially be even harder than interfaith, because interdenomination, a lot of things are, it's like, you know how frustrating it is when something almost fits but doesn't. That's a lot more frustrating than you having two completely different pieces, because you're not even trying to fit them together. You know they don't fit, therefore you keep them separate.
And then
but when you have two things that should fit, and that's when you get frustrated. So potentially there could be
reading
more,
the same verse, but one is saying this, one is saying that.
Exactly. One is saying, but this is why the verse says, look at the context. One says, no, but my papa at church said this.
Absolutely.
Oh, but daddy so and so said, you see.
For the Bible.
Did you see? So
bring your papa here.
Oh yeah, a bit more grace, but I definitely think it will take a lot more work and a lot more maturity, I think, in order for that to work. And again, my simple advice, if you can, don't.
Spoken like a true happily married person. The dating game is trenches, as people will tell you. It's hard out here. We need to expand.
So you're not making it harder?
No. You need to give yourself more options. People have looked in their faith, in the interdenomination. Now they are left with the Hindus and the Sikhs. Now they are...
or more options, more chances.
More options, more chances. Exactly.
Okay, well, there you go. Ladies and gents, listen, guys, that's what I think about today's two topics. AI singers, avoid them. If you can avoid them, that's my take. And I appreciate this is a personal take. I would argue you should adopt that take. But if you think otherwise, you can let me know why you think otherwise. And interfaith marriages, again, my position is avoid them. If you can, avoid them. If you happen to be in one, then pray to God for how you should deal with it. But yeah, listen, life has enough troubles of its own. I think where we can keep things simple, I think let's try to keep simple.
Absolutely.
Keep things simple. But okay, guys, that's our conversation for today. If you want to get involved, you know what to do. Leave the comments below. You can find us on Instagram, on TikTok, or you can send us an email if you like emails. I know there's some people that still love good old-fashioned emails. So until next time, ladies, just remember, ladies, I'm only talking to the ladies now. Until next time, guys, just remember the world is dancing to its tune. And we know they are, because they're creating AI. They're asking for us to do all this bunch of stuff. So the world is always dancing to its tune. We ought to be offbeat.